So who are we as Smiling One? So over the years, as we have crafted ourselves, built ourselves, learned from project to project, we have become change specialists. We are trusted partners to those we work with, trusted partners in shifting those inner and outer environments. We unlock the potential of the individual and the culture. And I always think about we have to earn our right. And I said it a little bit earlier. We can't just think we have a good idea and just, okay, let's go do change in your environment. We're very clear, and as you can see in this wheel, we're clear on the society and urgent need. And I am going to unpack each of these. You're going to see more detail. And this is really important to understand what change we are impacting in the world and in our country. So we're very clear, and the work we do and why people partner with us and continue to partner with us is because our work achieves large-scale positive change, which enables the beneficiaries to reach full potential and become conscious community enablers. And if we would tune into like the head of prison, like Mr. Sanklapa, he so much would have wanted to be here today. But one of the things he says in the partnership with us, he says, we know Smiling One works. That's why we keep opening our doors to Smiling One after 16 years. Because when men in our prison, maximum prison, join Smiling One, they're never going to recommit crime. And they know that. And that's a tall order. It's a big thing to say, because if we're going to get to that, our recidivism rate is so big, and Paul spoke to it as well. So to earn the right to show up and co-create change in these environments, it really means we have to prove ourselves, and we know that. And we take that really seriously. As a foundation, I'm not going to read into our history. You're going to do that in your own time. Should just see where did it all start. I did share a little bit in my own story, but you can immerse yourself within this. Of course, I'm just going to, for a moment, just be here with our team. This has been the project team for the year. And one thing I want to highlight is values that guide us. And Theo beautifully spoke to this, of having these values. All our programs are value-based leadership programs, and everyone in our team is trained in our value-based leadership programs. There's nobody who does not train on the training platform. We know we have to do it ourselves first. The change starts within me, and you could hear it as well in the journey of the men. That's what makes them great coaches and change agents, because they know change from their own journey. Same with me. I've walked, that journey of transformation myself, and we know how tough that is. So it's like when we go into these processes with each other, it's like, I show you my scars, you show me yours. And that is the reality, because we've all been on a journey. We're all on a journey, and we all gather together around these shared values. And it is values that unite us. So now getting into unpacking our why, our how, and our what. And I want to start on the right at the what. So what is it that we do as the Smiling One Foundation? What we do is we facilitate awakened leadership journeys. We facilitate individual and cultural shifts. We educate positive role models and change champions. At the core of it all is our program, Train the Trainer. That's how we do it. So let's get into the how. Number one, we establish an enabling platform for awakening journeys, wherever we go, whichever project. So we expose the environment to a new conversation. Hand in hand with our partners, this platform evolves as their light switches on. More and more participate in driving the change. And you heard it from Franklin, how he felt attracted, that first generation of coaches. And Lunga and Mandilake, that is with us today, is a wonderful example of that as well, how they also followed that light and how they switched on their light, and now they want to participate in driving this change. Number two, under our how, we provide our elite team of change specialists and train change champions for sustainability. So you can see that this team, this elite team, they have been crafted within the project. So it's not that we come from the outside and we bring facilitators that are not relevant or relatable to the project. They actually come out of the project, and something we want to showcase to you today exactly how that looks. So we have some examples in our impact case studies for you, so you can connect those dots. Number 3, under how, our value-based leadership programs are woven with the unique ingredients of our clients in support of their change experience. I did speak about that we have to listen. We can't just come and say, let's just change your environment. We have to understand what our clients are looking for. We offer a tailored solution aligned to their needs. We are frequently hired as translators of complex concepts and strategies for implementation in their organization. So you can take DCS, Department of Correctional Service. So, their business is corrections, is to facilitate rehabilitation. And that's a very complex thing to do. That's where we fit in. We listen to where they're at and we masterfully fill the gap. Now, everything needs fuel. Just like a car needs fuel, our why is our rocket fuel. So why do we do that? So we do it. Our purpose is we are passionate about unlocking potential. We love our people. We are so inspired by value-based leadership, and that we are able to equip our clients with tools and skills so they can grab any opportunity and lead lives that impact positively. So this really sets the context for who is SmilingOne, what is our focus, what is our clarity. And I'm not going to talk too much in here other than let's just sit for a moment and look at these beautiful students, these beautiful kids from our project. And it is really in the fire of the journey. It's the privilege of working with them. These are the next generation of leaders, the future leaders. And we're very real about how easy it's to fall through the cracks. Hey, so these beautiful young people, it is alongside them that we fine-tune our toolkit, that we continue to learn, we sharpen our tools. You heard it with Franklin. He said, I never thought I could work with kids. I just didn't have the capacity and the patience. But these kids have been part of shaping Franklin. Hey, Franklin. So it's just such a privilege, and we're going to speak a little bit more into that a little bit later. So we're getting to our impact case studies that we're going to spend a little bit of time on here today, just to look at what is the change experience. And we've of course heard from Franklin, Theo, Lunga, and Mandilake, and now we're going to put an image on it. And you also spoke to it, Theo, when you spoke about what is it that we are actually dealing with. Now we see the fire. Hey, so our client is society. We know the critical issue is crime, violence, harmful behaviors, gender-based violence. Now, in our world, we call that the symptom. We know that underneath it all is deep wounding. There is individuals who are disengaged from their self and from themselves and others. So we're very clear on, so it's not about us. If we want to tackle crime and violence, we go to the core issue. We go to the root and we apply our depth approach, the TRI, the responsible individual depth approach, to really get to where is the injury, as Theo said. Where is that individual that is wounded? And that because of the wounded has forgotten about him or herself. And because we move into forgetfulness, we begin to become destructive in the environments we live in. So we're clear about that. And that's what we specialized in these last 16 years. And the urgent need our society has is for positive role models. It is for these enabling platforms where we can heal and actively develop. There's an urgent need for partners in change and values that unite us. There's an urgent need for social cohesion and for long-term sustainable approaches, and not these very short-term, often reactive ones. So I'm going to take you into just look at our portfolios. So our portfolios are actually, I mean, they're intertwined. They don't really exist on their own. And I said already that in every project, we train the trainer within that project so that that person is relatable. So you heard Franklin met inside prison the first generation coaches that have been trained by me, and they were then in coach training and train the trainer. And they were then enrolling and recruiting Franklin to the program. Same with Theo. He also got recruited from some of the first generation coaches. Same with Lunga and Mandilaka were recruited through. You were there, Franklin, as well. Theo, you also visited the project. We also had other changes in coming to the project to inspire exactly this ignition point to be exposed to the change experience, because we need those partnerships. And you can see down here some of the photos. So on the right, you would have that's the Helderstrom prison team. So here we have the Mr. Diepenaar, we have Mr. Van Aas, who is head of CC Corrections. Is this Mr. Jacobs? Just remind me.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Lazo.
Thank you. So she is in development and care. So those are project partners at Helderstrom Prison. Then we have here from the school project, beautiful champions of change who are part of creating ripples in their school environments. You would see here with the certificate, we have one of our recruiters, Boitemelo. He is on our leadership bench. It means he's already entered the, somebody who has potential for becoming a trainer, a train the trainer participant. We have Mr. Sitola right there, and I just want to celebrate him. He is a 5-star coordinator. And of course, there I have my co-pilot, Franklin, that you can see that's when it turns winter, then Franklin looks like that. I love the hat. So let's move along here. So let's look at the output that we've had within our crime diversion and prevention portfolio. And we start up in the left corner in the desert. And as I say, that's what we do very first. And here we have the nature analogy that I did speak about, that we really are in to activate the inner gardener in each individual. When we live in the desert, we don't necessarily think we can do anything in that environment. It just, it's stagnated, it's dry. We don't even dream about change necessarily because that's our reality. That's where we're stuck. Now, the real issue, so what we see on the surface, as I said, is the crime, is the aggression, the violence, but we know what's underneath is the doubt, the fear, the peer pressure, the stress, the wounding, lack of direction, no sense of belonging. And we heard also Mandilaka speaking to, he had no clue where to go, right? And then suddenly you're met with what we call in our little growth igniter, it's in leadership lessons that was published a few years ago, a watering hole in the desert. So this group of men that are starting to wake up and have these conversations. Franklin spoke about that too. And it becomes this beautiful little oasis to go and drink from, and where seeds start sprouting. So what we did last year, this is from last project year, so I'm not going to read every single thing. You can read that, how you have 2 prisons, 80 sessions, 80 inmates. I want to again highlight the theme around the partnerships, those who come together to drive the change. So in the prisons, we have the last project year really honed 8 champions who are beating the drum of change with us. That is not including Mandilaka and Lunga, who are outside now. That's why I didn't include them. That's actually there are 10. Then there's the change agents that we had in full-time COC education, and you are the 2 parolees, Mandilaka and Lunga, that we welcomed home. And at the school project, so there we also had intensified session, exposure sessions. I am going to show you those projects so you can, again, the context is important that you see it, that it becomes a visual experience. But what I'm highlighting here, and you saw a photo of the students, 10 champions, students who are beating the drum of change, because there's 1,200 students in that environment at Raymond Smith High School. And Raymond Smith High School is a high-risk environment. We're going to see it in the case studies as well, what we're dealing with. So we can't alone as SmilingOne think, we got to change this environment. No, the students are helping us and the teachers are helping us. So we've also had over the year 15 champions who are really helping to move the ripple of change along. And we also have a teacher case study that we can feel the impact from. So here we have the men. This is Brøndby Maximum Prison. We also have, of course, the prison project at Helgestrom. We were not able to get to graduation yet at the Helgestrom prison because that project did start a little bit later in the year, so we didn't have enough time to get to graduation. But the projects work exactly the same way. So I want to highlight here again the partnerships, the real magic that happens when everybody gets together for the change experience. So we had the first intake at Brøndby, where we enrolled 25 inmate students, and you'll see we got 8 champions out of that process. Now we compare it to the second intake then in August 2023. Again, we enrolled 25 new inmate students. Of course, now the difference is that a lot of those students were recruited by the first 8 champions. There's still 22 that are active, and we expect 95% of them to graduate. And of course, many more champions comes out of that. So I'm sure you can already see the power of the recruiters, of those who get infected by change, that caring element that starts to awaken because, oh my goodness, I can help. How can I help? Is a very natural setting in human beings. And that is already ignited. You can see already, first intake to second intake, that's 6 months. It's already starting to happen, that this garden is coming alive, that we're no longer just talking about dissolute. No, we're actually talking about the seeds are sprouting already in that environment. And I just want to sit with the photos here. So you can see Lunga as well. He's right there in the upper picture next to Mr. Sitole, just above from Franklin and Paul. There we have Lunga when he was still incarcerated. And you can also see Botomelo, who was standing there, who also had the certificates. And of course, you're going to hear much more from these men in the next project year. We're very excited. And I also just want to take you through very briefly, to understand the change experience. It's not something that happens in a moment. And even the Mr. Sonklaber, who is the second in charge at Brøndby Maximum and management, as he said, many people come with programs, or there's anger management that takes a few weeks, that they're very used to within the correctional services, so there are different social worker programs. But as he says, they don't work because they are too short, and there's nobody who's really, that enabling platform doesn't stay. There's no accountability partners on the journey. There's no support ongoing. There's just a program, start, done, finish. Change takes time. It requires a long-term approach. So you'd have on top here the responsible individual. So that's where they enroll first. So that's where Franklin started with Theo, Lunga, Mandilake started. The first 6 to 12 months is TI Awaken. Just because they enroll doesn't mean they're going to graduate. But as we say, your graduation doesn't mean that just because you attend. Graduation is when we really walk the talk. As Theo said, talk is cheap. So how does the change actually look in your journey and your life? So it's a very practical approach. So what we're looking for, because we're setting up the environment for change, we want to fill up the recruiter bench. Within the first 1-2 years of any project, any process, that's our main focus, is to get to where are our partners for change? Who are those who are going to help us achieve what we're here to do, which is, of course, combat crime, but at the deepest level, help heal people so that they can heal themselves and help heal their environments. And then you would have on the leadership bench, so right now, actually the recruiters, so both Mandilake and Lunga, as they have reintegrated, They are in their Reclaim Your Power Bootcamp. Also inside prison, we have all the recruiters are in the Reclaim Your Power Bootcamp. And we will have a graduation coming up here mid-year. And those 95% who graduate and those that really, you know, have the potential will go into the Reclaim Your Power Bootcamp. We're very strict, you know, and you have to be very strict. I mean, our criteria are very high. Everybody's welcome, but the more we go up into our leadership bench and the travel companion, we're very serious about that, you know, really to be somebody who represents change. You got to be serious, you got to be committed, and you got to show us. I'm going to move on into, and this is something you can read in your own time, and I just really suggest that you do spend time with the report to really enjoy all the different nuances of it, to get to know what does it mean when somebody is a responsible individual. So you hear it. I'm sure you can hear it with the men who are present today, but also really to see what it means when they get a toolkit and a mindset for leadership. And what I want to highlight here, I'm victorious in my story. I'm not defeated. And you see it, that will come up a little bit later in the presentation. And that I don't mind the stretch that challenge gifts me with. Today, I regard it as my gym to get fitness for the new version of me. So Theo speaks a lot to that as well. We hear it, you see it later in the report as well. But spend some time here with this in your own time.